Okay, what's up, everybody? So check this out. So what I want to do on this call is I want to tell you the easiest way to have a natural, organic conversation with a listing agent or a seller and how to position subject to. So one of the things that a lot of new investors really struggle with is positioning subject to. And one of the reasons that happens is because a lot of times like a new investor gets in the game and they don't know how to underwrite subject to deals. They don't really understand the economics around what's happening, and they get kind of caught up like, where does the money come from? How does all this work? Is this a deal? I don't really know what to do. And I totally get it. It can feel that when you first get started. But I'm going to tell you the secret on how you can have a conversation with somebody to where it doesn't suck. And the easiest way to do that is to really not care about the conversation. You might say that's kind of a weird thing to say, but the reality is that the less you care about the deal and the less that you care about it having to happen, I have to get my first deal. As soon as that goes away, the commission breath goes away, and it becomes really easy just to have conversations with people, understand what their struggles are, their problems, and then position how you could potentially fix it. And here's the secret. I want you to know this. You can't fix all of these problems. When people bring you a deal or you're asking somebody about a deal, it's probably not even likely it's a deal for you. Okay, so what we're doing is we're out here, we're looking for deals. We're looking for needles in the haystack. We're having conversations. We're creating rapport. We're creating relationships. We're looking for inbound leads, man. We want people calling us saying, hey, Johnny, I've got this deal. Are you a buyer? When you can get to that point, deals become a lot easier. And that's why investors who are more seasoned do more deals, because they have relationships with people and people bring them deals. So what I want to do for you is, and real quick before I do that, if you find any value or you're somebody who wants to be in real estate investing, please like and subscribe, show some support. These videos take me forever to make. I don't have any time to do it anymore. I started this channel just to have fun, and now it's turned into a little bit of a chore, but I want to share some of these things I know will help you. I know these things are going to help you if you just implement them in your business. A like and subscribe would be awesome. It takes a half a second to do it. I really appreciate the support. So here's the thing. I'm going to play for you this call that I had with somebody, and forgive all of it, because I just got on this call. I had my GoPro. I almost forgot to record. I'm like, dude, I'm just going to set up my GoPro and do this real quick. So I recorded on the GoPro, so the audio is not fantastic. Half of my face is cut off most of the time, but I want to play it for you anyways, because there's a lot of value in this conversation. This lady brought me this deal, okay? So this is somebody that I've worked with in the past. I've never done any deals with her. I had somebody, a friend of mine, refer her to me and say, hey, Johnny is a real estate investor. He's looking for properties. We've written a couple offers. She's awesome. This lady is so stinking cool. She works her butt off, but she's also pretty new to the business and to the space. And I know that about her. And she brought me this deal, and she basically said, hey, I have this listing, and I'm not getting any offers on it, and these guys need to move. It's also a veteran, and he needs to sell this property because he's getting stationed somewhere else and it's not selling. So you'll notice in the conversation, one of the things that I ask her is, why do you think this property is not selling? Here's the thing. I know the answer to that. I know why it's not selling. It's not selling because it's overpriced. I also know that because he is a veteran, he probably bought it with a VA loan and financed 100% of it, meaning he can't move the price down in order to sell it, and that's why it's not selling. So one of the things I want you to know is the market always determines the price of a property. Now, you do need to get the property in front of as many people as you can so they know it's being sold. If no one knows the property is for sale, you're definitely not going to get any offers. But if it's on the MLS and it's on Zillow, people see the property, okay? People are looking for property day in and day out. I don't know how many views Zillow gets, but it's a lot, dude. And so if the property's on market and it's not getting any offers, then there's a good chance that it's not getting offers because it's overpriced. And I know that. So I have a conversation with the agent, and I just say, tell me about it. Why don't you think it's selling? And she kind of goes into this thing and this kind of, she's trying to I don't know what she's trying to do, but she's trying to not say that it's overpriced. And so I ask her, I'm like, well, if it was priced at $500,000, which is $100,000 less than it's currently on market, I said, do you think you would sell it? And the answer is yes. So what does that tell me? It tells me it's overpriced. There is always a go number for every single property, okay? A property that's on market for $800,000 might not be the actual number someone's willing to pay, but there is a number. Maybe it's $200,000, maybe it's $500,000, whatever the number is. There is a number that an investor will come in and buy that property, okay? So listing agents, sometimes they don't I don't know if they want to be like stubborn about it or something, or they want to get the most amount of money for their sellers, which is awesome. I applaud that because that's their job. But sometimes we have to take a realistic look at the market and say, well, if no one's willing to pay what we're asking, then that means that we need to lower the price because our price is too high. So a little bit of a rant there, but I want you to see how I have the conversation with her. I don't tell her the property is overpriced. I have her tell me the property is overpriced. And that's the difference, okay? I want her to say it because when she says it to me, it becomes the truth. And ultimately what I'm wanting to do in this conversation is I'm wanting to figure out how I can even help this person in the first place. Because one thing I'm not gonna do, and you can hear me say it in the video, is I'm not gonna overpay for the property. And I even kind of run through a hypothetical scenario. So she says to me, well, what happens if she says to me, well, if somebody came in and redid the backyard, you could get more money for it. Well, the problem is if you're not a real estate investor and you don't understand the money behind being an investor, meaning I got to buy the property, I got to pay a holding cost, I got to pay closing costs, I got to pay agent fees and blah, 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 blah. And then I got to put the backyard in, which is going to cost me $100,000, which is going to take me time. And all of these expenses, they add up. Not only do they add up in terms of expenses, but they create risk because I don't know what the market's going to do in 6, 7, 8, 10 months. Okay, especially in this weird market, it's so weird. So the thing is I have to kind of walk her through that and explain it to her. Okay, and I do that in a way where she understands what it is that I'm saying. And so the thing is, I don't care about getting this deal. Like, I want to see if it works for me. I'm not hungry to get the deal. Of course, I would love to get the deal, help this guy, he's a veteran, and, make some money myself and feed my family. I want to do that. But if I'm chasing it, it changes the positioning between me and the person trying to sell it. Remember, they've come to me and said, we need a very specific buyer for this. Are you that buyer? And for me, it's like, I don't know. At the right number, I'm the buyer. With the right terms, I'm the buyer. So I kind of go through that whole dance, and then this is going to get mixed reviews. I'm not a huge fan of Subject-to. I think that there are some risks there. I think it works for some people. Subject-to is good for some people, and it's not good for others. Now, Subject-to is a really good strategy for somebody who has negative equity in their property, okay? Because it allows them to get out of the property. You'll hear in the call, I ask them, who's paying the agent fees? And she's like, they're gonna have to write a check. Dude, the seller has to write a check to the agent to sell the property. That sucks. Nobody wants to do that. So for these type of people, Subject-to is a good option. It's not for everybody, but it does fit some scenarios, and this is a perfect scenario. If somebody needs to sell the property and it doesn't cash flow, and I ask that question, and it doesn't cash flow, then Subject-to might be a good alternative for them. So what I do in the call is I kind of like educate the agent. I let her know like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what I would do if I was giving advice to a friend or family member. Any real estate transaction I've ever done has always been, if I was giving advice to a friend or family member, if you operate inside of that space, inside of any business with this type of mentality, what advice would I give my mother or my father or my sister or my brother, assuming you have a good relationship with them? Like, you're gonna win, okay? Because you're giving authentic advice that you would probably take yourself. This is how you win in the space. This is how you create a good name for yourself in any industry. And I tell her that this is what I would potentially do. And I even mention if they're going to do a Subject-to transaction, which might be good for the seller, but might not be for me. I might not even be a buyer for this, but this is what I'll do. Here are some pointers. These are some things that your seller should consider. And if I'm not the buyer, I can hook you guys up with a buyer who would probably work within those boundaries. And so I just position it in a way to where it's like, if I get the deal, I get the deal. And if I don't, I don't really care. And it changes the entire dynamic of the call. I promise you, you're going to get more deals as soon as you get rid of that commission breath where you're just going after it and trying to get it. I got to get this, or I don't know what to do. Just take a deep breath, have a conversation, get information on the property, give them back what you know, even if that's not a lot. You're not making an offer on the call anyways. So just get the information, create some rapport, and say, look, go talk to your seller. And once you have a conversation with them, come back to me and let's figure this thing out. So play this recording for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless. Hey, I'm doing great. I feel terrible. I know I owed you a call from a couple of days ago. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you. I feel terrible.
okay?
I did. I just got so sidetracked with all these things, and I apologize. I know I was supposed to connect with you on this deal, but if you have a couple minutes, I'd love to hear kind of what's going on to see if maybe I could, how I could potentially help.
Okay. Yeah, in a few minutes. I'm up in Laguna Beach right now. Just finished showing a couple of listings.
Okay, nice, awesome. Do you want to just give me like the 5-minute rundown or the 3-minute rundown on what's going on with the property to see, just trying to figure out what's exactly is going on with it. Why do you think it's not selling?
Well, it's probably because they have, with everybody so hung up on the interest rates that, they're willing to step down from a single-family home to a townhouse. So I'm thinking the buyers that are looking in the area of my listing, which is a single-family home, when they have their agent, look up what's in the area, the townhomes are probably down the street about, I would say, 2 minutes down the road, going for, I don't know, $100,000 to $200,000 cheaper. So that's what I'm having. That's the issue I'm running into.
So do you think that the property then is just overpriced based on where the market is today?
A little bit, not to say overpriced, because there are some comps that if you go back 6 months, that it's, the value's there. It's just my clients don't have a lot of equity in their property because they lived in it a little over a year. Because they're military.
So did they take out? Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, nothing's wrong with the property or anything. It's just they gotta go. So I figure I'd call you and see if you guys were interested in what you guys offered.
Well, it's listed. What do you have it listed at? 620.
620.
So here's the question. I know that like when people say the word like overpriced, it could feel a certain way, but the reality is if it was priced at 500, somebody would probably buy it. Yes.
Yes, but they can't sell it at 500 because they bought it for 6, little over 6.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I totally get it. What I'm saying is, what do you think the price is that, like, what is the market price? Like, what do you think the market, because at the end of the day, the property's worth what someone's willing to pay for it. So I'm just curious to know, and it doesn't make a difference. I'm just trying to trying to figure it out in terms of what you actually think the property would be, like, what would it sell for? If you could.
It would probably sell for maybe closer to 600,000. Maybe 610, a little above. 610.
So they bought it about a year. They bought about a year ago for about that 600. Is that right?
They bought it for over like 620, like 620-ish.
Oh my gosh.
They're not looking to make any profits. They're okay with breaking even, just because they're military and they got reassigned outside of California.
Yeah, that's terrible. So is there margin in there for you to at least get your agent fee?
No, actually, they will end up paying.
Oh my gosh.
No, not really. Yeah.
So usually with the properties like this, the only thing that I could do would be some sort of like subject to deal. Have you talked to anybody about maybe doing selling the subject to?
Yeah, they're not looking to do any of that. We went down that road. They're not looking.
Yeah, it stinks. Those are the only. There's nothing else I can do because just for me, like I can't. I'm not going to overpay for a property, even if it's if it's worth it. It's just there's no value. There's no way for me to make money. You know what I'm saying? So what would they? What would be like a best case scenario for them? Like what would they be looking for someone to do? Come in and just overpay on it? I feel like it doesn't sound realistic.
Well, I was just thinking about because the fact they haven't done the backyard and it's a corner lot. So I'm sure if someone came in, did some, the backyard to like designer's dream or whatever like that the price, when they do flip it or do whatever they're going to do with it, if they can sell it for a lot higher.
So do you think if I came in and like maybe, let's say I bought it at the 620, do you think if I put in like maybe, you know, 100 grand in the backyard, putting pool and all that stuff in there, do you think that it would go for, you know, 800? Like if I put 100,000 into it and I had to absorb closing costs and all that fun stuff, and then, you know, I bought it for 620, put 100 grand into it, had to hold it for, you know, 6 to 10 months while I built the backyard and you know, and all that fun stuff. What do you think it would be worth at that point?
I feel like you can get, because the house right behind it is going for 900,000, and it has less bedroom. So once that sells, I mean, it's literally right behind it, right on the other side of the street. That would definitely improve the, you know, the sellability at a much higher rate.
Do you know how long that property's been on the market? I mean, is it under contract or is it just on the market at that 900 number?
It's just on the market. Last time I looked at it was maybe a good week and a half ago.
I see. So do you know, are there any comps that have like sold for that 900 number that are in the vicinity, or just the one that's on market?
I think it was about maybe 700-800, but not at that. They would be setting a record if they sold over 9.
Yeah. So you see where the problem kind of comes in there for me, where I have to acquire it, and then, you know, I have to set records in order to even, you know, there's no margin. So if they've got to, if the property is not worth the 620, their only option is going to be a subject to transaction. If they have to sell it, otherwise they're going to have to just eat the payment. Have they thought about doing a subject to transaction with a balloon payment, meaning like they only, you know, do sub 2 for maybe 3 to 5 years? So after let's say 3 or 5 years, the new owner would be then required to pay off that loan. So you know, so it's not still in their name. Have they considered that?
Yeah, they don't want any of that, because they're on a VA loan. And they don't want to tie up or be held to the property, especially being out of state. They don't want to deal with that.
What are they gonna do if they can't sell it? And they would rather write you a check for the commission?
They're considering renting it out for a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Does it cash flow in terms of a rental?
Well, we're gonna have that conversation in a couple of hours.
Okay, I see. Well, just from my perspective, you know, like I'm not a huge fan of subject to transactions. I don't even like. I hate doing them, to be honest with you. I have a property that I bought subject to in St. Petersburg, Florida, and it has been a nightmare. I'm not a huge fan of them. I have a really good friend of mine. Excuse me, they bought a property for $2.4 million in Utah 2 years ago, and they're not upside down on it, but they're going through a divorce. They got to liquidate it. It's like kind of a weird thing, and they had no option. They couldn't make the payment. They had no option. They couldn't rent it. The HOA would not allow them to Airbnb it. It's because it's like a private, you know, kind of ritzy place or whatever. And their only option was to sell it sub 2. And so sometimes, you know, it's like the better of the it's really the only option, right? It's the better of the two, right? It's like, well, you got one where maybe if they're going to rent it, they still going to have to manage it. They're going to be, when you rent the property, if the garbage disposal breaks, if the refrigerator breaks, if something happens, they're going to have to fix that from wherever they are. And I can tell you, as a guy who owns a property in Florida, it is a nightmare. I have the property I have in Florida. When the winds pick up, it drops tree branches on the roof. I have to have in there's tenants in there, and I have to send somebody over there for like $300 to get stuff off the roof. It's a nightmare. So when they sell it sub 2, if they do it the right way, and there's really a lousy way to do it and there's a right way to do it, but if they do it sub 2, they can do it in a way to where their hands are kind of free in terms of they don't have to worry about maintenance on the property. The new buyer will be, financially tied to it in a way to where it doesn't make sense to them for them to either default on the loan or to not maintain it. So I think for a lot of people, they get turned off on the Subto thing because the VA benefits. I certainly understand that, but sometimes it's the only option. So, if they are open to it, I can at least, I don't even know if I would even want to buy the property. I have not done nothing. I've not even looked at it. I just wanted to call you before the night was over. But I could always evaluate if maybe I'm a player, and if I'm not, maybe I could connect with somebody who could at least take care of you guys.